The US-China trade deal is done, or is it? And what's the connection between the LA riots and the CCP? That and more on this week's China News Headlines. Welcome to China Uncensored. I'm Shelley Zhang, filling in for Chris Chappell, who's fulfilling his lifelong dream of freediving the Mariana Trench. This episode is sponsored by Incogni. You probably know that companies are collecting your personal data, but you may not realize just how many. Dozens, probably hundreds, most of which you've never heard of, and you have no idea what they're doing with it. Incogni helps stop them. I'll explain more at the end. U.S. President Donald Trump has announced that a trade deal with China is done. According to Trump, full magnets and rare earth minerals will be supplied up front by China, while Chinese nationals will be able to attend U.S. colleges. On top of that, U.S. exports to China will be subject to a 10% tariff, while Chinese exports to the U.S. will have a 55% tariff. Of course, the Post also says that the deal is subject to final approval by both Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. And since the Chinese Communist Party always lies and goes back on deals, and Trump changes his mind very quickly, who knows if this will even move past the final approval stage. Although, technically, we haven't even moved past the first approval stage. According to Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, this deal is actually more of a handshake for a framework for a deal. And as we know, there's nothing the CCP loves more than dragging out negotiations to their own advantage, what the New York Times is calling the art of the stall. It's exactly what they did to the first Trump administration. Has Trump wised up to the CCP? I guess we'll have to see. At this rate, a trade deal between Xi and Trump that actually sticks is the one thing that we're going to get after GTA 6. Hey, remember last September when Linda Sun, a former top aide to New York Governor Kathy Hochul, was arrested and accused of acting as a Chinese Communist Party agent? Now, another former top Hochul aide's unearthed family connections to the CCP are raising alarm bells. What was Hochul's background check, making them pinky swear they aren't loyal to the CCP? This time the aide in question is Elaine Fan, or Fan Xiaojiang, who served as Hochul's Director of Asian Affairs between October 2021 and November 2023. Fan comes from a long line of CCP propagandists. Her father and grandfather both held high-ranking positions at the state-run Xinhua News Agency and government positions in charge of things like information, education, and propaganda. Her three uncles also held important positions in the CCP. I assume she left all that off her resume. Man, it's like no one respects the sanctity of a pinky swear anymore. But it's not just Fan's family causing suspicion, it's also her actions. Things like actively participating in events and activities hosted by the Chinese Consulate General in New York and various Chinese United Front groups since 2019. United Front groups are how the CCP uses community organizations to advance their own agenda. Currently, Fan is serving as Chief of Staff for Democrat Scott Stringer's campaign for mayor of New York City. Now, none of this proves that Fan's working on behalf of the CCP. She hasn't been accused of being a foreign agent, unlike Linda Sun. But U.S. politicians should do a better job of understanding how the CCP works through United Front groups, or else they'll find themselves in trouble, like Senator Chuck Schumer and New York City Mayor Eric Adams did back in 2023.
5 months after the world was warned about this now closed, illegal secret police station behind me here in Chinatown, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and Mayor Eric Adams were seen rubbing elbows with the man suspected of running the so-called police station as an agent for the Chinese Communist government.
Oops. The U.S. says it has arrested another Chinese researcher accused of smuggling biological material. This is the second such announcement in just a week involving the University of Michigan. Congrats, U of M. You somehow topped Detroit for least appealing place to visit in Michigan. The researcher is Chen Xuanhan, a Chinese doctoral student at the College of Life Science and Technology at Huazhong University of Science and Technology, which is in the now infamous city of Wuhan. According to the FBI, between September 2024 and March 2025, Han sent 4 packages to staff members at a lab at the University of Michigan that contained concealed biological items. She said that she planned to spend a year completing a project there, but officials claim she made false statements about these shipments while being questioned by federal agents. I don't know why they'd be so touchy about someone lying about biological samples coming out of Wuhan. I've been begging for a third season of Tiger King. According to the FBI, the biological material Han is accused of smuggling, sometimes hidden between pages of a book, is related to roundworms and requires a government permit. And I never thought I would see literal bookworms. The FBI also alleges that Han deleted the contents of her electronic devices 3 days before she landed in Detroit. Han says she deleted everything to start fresh while she was in the United States. I think she's taking those Pure Michigan commercials a little too seriously. And after the break, there's trouble in paradise for the No Limits partnership of China and Russia. Welcome back. According to the New York Times, a secret Russian intelligence document shows a deep suspicion of China. What? But Xi and Putin are always publicly boasting about their friendship while sharing blintzes and vodka. The document comes from a previously undisclosed secretive unit within Russia's FSB and refers to the Chinese as the enemy. The undated document, which appears from context to be from late 2023 or early 2024, warns that the CCP poses a serious threat to Russia's security and discusses CCP operations such as spying on the Ukraine war to learn more about Western weapons and to prepare for an invasion of Taiwan, espionage in the Arctic using mining companies and university research centers as cover, and recruiting spies, including among Russians married to Chinese citizens. So, a honey trap inside a Russian nesting doll. The FSB has responded by ordering surveillance of people using WeChat or other Chinese messaging apps, among other things. So could President Trump be onto something when he talks about trying to pry the Kremlin away from China through a Ukraine ceasefire? Well, that's one way of looking at it, but another is that Putin already knows about these reports, yet still seeks close ties with China anyway. I guess those Putin-Xi friendship necklaces are really worth it after all, or it's so heavy it's cutting off the blood flow to his frontal cortex. And I think everyone is aware of the anti-ICE demonstrations currently raging in American cities, some of which have descended into full-fledged rioting. Some of the rioters are holding communist or Soviet flags or shouting slogans like "Abolish police" or "Only one solution, revolution." Why? Did they see all that ice and assume they were in Soviet Russia? On top of that, truckloads of Uvex bionic face shields were reportedly distributed to rioters in LA. Those aren't cheap. So, who's paying for all of this? Well, we don't know for certain, although the FBI has begun an investigation. But some signs point to socialist billionaire Neville Roy Singham, who's married to Jodie Evans of Code Pink. It turns out that some of these riots were advertised or organized by the Party for Socialism and Liberation, or PSL, and the People's Forum, both of which are linked to the so-called Singham network of radical left-wing organizations. It's like learning that flash mobs are carefully planned and not done in a flash at all. Nothing's really spontaneous anymore. So what does this have to do with China? Well, according to this report in the New York Times, Singham and his organizations help promote CCP propaganda around the world. And according to the Network Contagion Research Institute, Singham was once a consultant for Huawei, and he currently lives and works in Shanghai, where he shares office space with a CCP propaganda firm focused on presenting a positive image of the PRC to the global South. Because for propaganda to make the CCP seem positive there, they're going to need a whole firm. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna has said that the House Oversight Committee will issue a formal document request to Neville Singham regarding his funding of a communist group linked to the LA riots and the CCP. Perhaps we'll get more answers after that hearing. In any case, it looks like the U.S. may be headed for another summer of unrest. Sorry, I mean love, which would obviously be good news for the CCP. Now, I've got a video to show you that you're going to love, but first, this episode is sponsored by Incogni. Whenever you do anything online or use apps on your phone, there are tons of companies that collect your personal data. I'm talking name, phone number, social security number, home address, and more. So when Chris signed up for Incogni 3 years ago, I signed up too. And like him, I discovered there were dozens of data brokers that had taken my private information. Fortunately, Incogni has been working hard to get as many of these companies as possible to delete my data from their systems. And it's worked. Incogni has already gotten my details removed from 469 of these data brokers, and I didn't have to do anything after signing up. It gets better. Incogni has a new Family Unlimited plan that can help all your loved ones get rid of their data on the internet too. And that plan gives you access to Incogni's custom removals feature, where if you find a people search site that's giving out your info, paste that link into Incogni, and Incogni's agents will get rid of it for you. So go to incogni.com/uncensored and use the code uncensored to get 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Get your personal data off the market with Incogni. And now here's a video YouTube's algorithm thinks you'll like. Who are you to disagree with the algorithm? I'm Shelley Zhang, filling in today for Chris Chappell. Thanks for watching China Uncensored.